Hello, everybody, and welcome back, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. I am Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and we are the number one podcast bringing you conversations around death, dying, grief, trauma, mental health, and all the things that come along with that. With some amazing people that have some amazing journeys, and of course, today I have another amazing guest from you guys, and she has done some amazing things. She has an amazing story that you guys are going to love. So if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section now before we get started. If this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor. Head on over to their YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. This helps us get out there to more people. And if you know anyone who can benefit from the conversations that we have, please share this along with them. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. So again, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my next guest, Miss Sharen Rosenbloom. Sharen, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello, Tony. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here as your guest. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to the day. And before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Hi, I'm Sharen Rosenbloom. I'm from London in the United Kingdom, and I'm a bereavement, grief and loss specialist. I unfortunately lost my husband when I was 39, so no guessing my ages, but 22 years ago now. And he was 41, had two young children at the time who were 5 and 7. So life was very challenging for me. My son, who was 5 then, he's now 20, he was 28 yesterday. He's got complex special needs. He's got autism, dyspraxia, ADHD, learning difficulties, and speech impairments. So life was challenging just with Oliver alone, even before my husband died. But then once my husband died, it was just horrendous.
Again, we've talked before, and every time I hear someone lose someone close to them, my heart is always with you, and having the challenges that you had to endure, raising two young children and one with special needs and things like that. I can only imagine your journey, right? And so, with that being said, walk us through your life before you became who you are today.
Sorry, what? Can you just repeat that question? I missed that.
Walk us through your life before you became who you are today.
I didn't work because of my son, because it was, he was at a special needs school, but I always had to be here when he wasn't at school. So it was hard for me to work. And I was basically a full-time mum to my 2 children. My daughter was 7 at the time my husband died, and to actually something else that was quite traumatic, or very traumatic, to see my daughter climb into bed with my husband after he's died was just heartbreaking. And I know you asked me what I was doing beforehand, but I was just basically a mum and a housewife.
Yeah. Now, now take us back to your upbringing a little bit, because you grew up in London, right? What was that like growing up in London?
I suppose it's the only place I've ever known. I've lived here all my life. But death was never spoken about as a family. So my parents, we'd sit down, have dinner in the evening, and my parents would be eating, and they'd say, so-and-so. They would never say died. And they would also never say the C word, which obviously now is often COVID, but C word being cancer. And so it was always very hidden from me. And I do believe, I wish death and things like that were taught at school, because it was the first time I'd ever been to a funeral, which was when my husband died. And we're a Jewish family, and in the Jewish family, women don't go to a funeral if their parents are still alive, or both of my parents were still alive. So officially I shouldn't have gone. Girls also don't go to a funeral until they're over the age of 13, or it could even be 18. I'm not sure. But yes, it was a very, very hard, difficult time for me.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question, because is that a cultural thing not to talk about people with terminal illnesses, or to not allow children to go to funerals and things like that, because I can still remember the first funeral I went to. I was very young, and it was one of my friends from school who had cancer. And so
Mm.
it was something, although the adults didn't talk about it, us children, we still knew what was going on, right? And sometimes the parents would sit down because we would have questions like, hey, what happened to such and such? And our parents, although they didn't go into too much detail, they would go, hey, he's not going to be showing up at school anymore. And we go, why? He was just in the hospital. We just saw him. Yeah, well, he's in heaven. And that's what they will always tell us and things like that. Even when an adult passed away, again, not very much detail, right? Just like such and such passed away, and we learn from watching them, like, hey, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be, right?
Mm.
Don't talk about it. We just, we go to the funeral, and after the funeral, we have dinner, and the adults will go do the adult things, and children would go and be in the children's place, go outside and play, and that's just the way that it was. So I revert back to the question: is it a cultural thing or a religious
Well,
thing,
I
like
know
that?
for my daughter, I mean, yet she shouldn't have gone officially in the Jewish religion, but I didn't want her to think when she was older, why didn't I go? Why wasn't I allowed to go? So I gave her the choice. And I
Mhm.
said to her, Sophie, you can either come with us to Daddy's funeral or you can go to a friend's or, family member. And she chose to come with. It was very different with Oliver because he had special needs. He didn't come with. But after he saw his therapist, it was, in fact, his psychotherapist said to me, Oliver won't grieve for 3 years. And it did take almost 3 years to the day from when he sort of started to grieve. And every day he used to say to me, when is Daddy coming home or Daddy coming ding dong? And my mother-in-law, like you said, going to heaven, I think to tell children things like that is wrong in my eyes, because she said to him, Daddy's above the clouds. And it was about 3 or 4 years we went on holiday, and we went to Spain. So we were on the plane, and Oliver's looking out the window, and I said to him, what are you looking for? And he said, I'm looking for Daddy, because we'd gone through the clouds,
Mhm.
and he thought that Simon would be above the clouds. So I do think you should be more straight and direct with children rather than tell them he's above the clouds, he's in heaven, because that doesn't mean anything
Right.
to a child, in my eyes anyway.
No, no, I definitely agree. And, I mean, there's people who have different things. Like, I don't know anything about helping a child through grief. I
Yeah.
really don't. I've never had to help a young child analyze or even be able to conceptualize the thought of losing their parents and things like that. Now, I say that to say this: although I do not work with children, I know there's people out there that are better at it than me, that have a better understanding of helping children analyze the thought, because children take in information a lot differently, right?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that there's people out there that do help those children navigate that, because I've known children who have lost parents before, that have lost their siblings and multiple friends, and things like that. And so when I watch a child go through it, I watch their behaviors, right?
Mm.
And so I always found it fascinating, because I'm going, are they really grasping the idea, right? Or how are they expressing their emotions? Now, I've seen a multitude of children go through a multitude of emotions. Some they act out, or some of them just get really, really quiet. And, but as a child, I often seen them go, yeah, my dad or my mom, they died, and it's so nonchalant that they go right back to playing with their friends and everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
so,
1 minute they can be crying, the next minute
right,
they're
right.
laughing and joking.
Yeah. So now watching your own children have to navigate that world, um, from your experience, from what you've observed, what was that like?
Very, very difficult. I remember the first year when it was Simon's anniversary. So I bought 3 helium balloons, and Sophie wrote a message on hers, I did on mine. And we went over, there's a park opposite where I live. And I said to Oliver, we're going to the park to let off the balloons for Daddy's birthday. And of course, we went over to the park. And again, because Oliver's got special needs and the autism, he thinks things are very much what you say. I said, we were going to the park for Daddy's birthday. Mm-hmm. And he expected, he had a terrible meltdown when we went there because Simon wasn't there. And because I said, we're going to the park for Daddy's birthday, he actually thought we were going to the park for his, like a birthday party for him.
Right.
So I made a difficult day much more difficult, but he does understand now. I mean, it's 22 years later, but he had a lot of therapy, and he does understand now, but it's still challenging.
Well, yeah, and I can only imagine that, unfortunately, I had to bury my son, so it was totally opposite for me, and so that's why I asked, like, what was that like? What did you see? Because with my son's sisters, and everything, I didn't get the chance to see them go through the process of grief. He has an older sister, and he had a younger sister, which is transgender now, and so I've had conversations with them, and I have to say, being a part of it now to listen to them, I have a better understanding of what it did to them as well. And all the challenges that come along with that, but I know everybody does it differently. And so, this is how I learned how to be present and in the moment with others by learning, like, is this okay to do? Is this not okay to do? Because as being a men's grief coach, of course, I do come from the thought process of working with men. And being a male myself, trying to get rid of the stigma of what society tells men to do, to how men are supposed to be and how we're supposed to grieve and maneuver through society and breaking down those walls and going, no, this is not okay, right? And so, it's just always been one of those things. So now, walk us through your journey. Like when, walk us through your grief journey.
It's funny, actually, I was going to say something before I walk you through my journey. So many clients I've had over the years think they've got to be strong in front of their children.
Yeah.
But if you hide your feelings from your children, they will hide theirs from you. And the 3 of us used to sit and cry together because I didn't want them to hide their feelings from me. My daughter still finds it difficult. But if, I could be having a bad day and I may have been crying, and Oliver would say to me in his language, why am I sad? And I'd say, because I miss Daddy. And then he would start to cry, I miss Daddy too. And I think that's a good way to be, rather than being all strong. I mean, I must admit, when I used to go out just shopping and people would see me and they'd say, how are you? I'd say, oh, I'm okay. But I wasn't okay. I felt completely crushed and broken inside.
Yeah.
So it is so important to say how you're feeling.
I think that's the most difficult part, right? And I want to get your thoughts on this because, when we go out into society after a loss, and having to deal with the emotional aspects, and when I say this, I'm speaking from my own experiences. It was easier for me to put on a mask.
Yeah.
I always felt that I didn't want to be a burden to someone, that, if I broke down and things like that, people would have this different interpretation of who I was. And so it was just easier. I learned, and, I figured it out because I got so tired of people asking me, how you feeling? How do you think? And I used to have to catch myself because I wanted to tell them, how do you think I'm feeling?
Yeah.
How do you think I'm feeling? I just lost the one thing in my world that really made sense, that gave me purpose. And you're asking me how I feel?
Yeah.
Oh, Sharen, I will tell you, look, there was times where I was just like, if I punch you in the mouth, Would
Yeah.
would that give you any interpretation of what I'm feeling right now?
I get that 100%. When I used to take Sophie to school, I'd park the car and people used to cross the road rather than actually speak to me.
Yeah.
And I'd go shopping in the supermarket. I could be walking up an aisle and I'd see someone and I'd notice they'd see me and they quickly turn around and go up the other way. Because people don't know how to speak to you, how to be with you.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
they, you know, if they see you smile, they think, oh, she's doing okay.
Yeah.
You know, and you do
Yeah.
have to wear. I honestly wore that mask for years.
Yeah. It's a lot easier. I used to have people. It took me a long time to realize, to come to the mindset of not taking things personally. But I used to despise this comment. Well, I wouldn't know what I would have. I wouldn't know what I would do. And I would look at him. I got smart with one person one time. I really got smart with him, and it was a crowd of people, and we were talking, and they were asking me, about my son and everything. I was like, well, if you didn't know him, then why you asking me about him? What you're trying to get to know him now? He's not here.
Yeah.
And they would go, man, I wouldn't know what I would do if something happened like that to one of my children. I go, well, that's good because now I do. Right.
Yeah.
And they looked at me. I go, be careful what you say.
Yeah.
What you say, because you know what? I can take that one very personally. Don't brag to me because you got your child and I don't. You don't. I will cuss you out right now. I'm glad you don't have to deal with the pain that I have to deal with. Even when I lost my parents and my younger brother, he would say the same stupid things to me, and I would just look at him and go, well, it's a good thing that you don't have to feel what I feel right now.
Yeah.
As a person, you don't have to go through or try to make sense of what I'm feeling. I said, but be careful because the one day that you will. And the same words that you're saying to me, you really don't want that to be said to you. So be mindful when you talk to someone because emotionally and mentally, you don't know where I'm at, right? You don't know what I'm going through. I'm putting on a fake mask right now because you think that I'm strong.
I had someone say to me, I know how you feel. I got divorced last year. And I thought, oh my God, yeah, it's bad enough when you have a breakup and you get divorced. But the kids have still got their dad. My children didn't have their dad anymore.
Yeah.
How can they say, I know how you feel? And everyone is unique and everyone grieves differently.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone through a lot of grief, but how you feel would be different from how I felt.
Right, right.
And someone once said to me, oh, I know how you feel. My cat died last week, last year, whenever. And you think, how can you compare losing your husband to a pet? I mean, I know for some people a pet is like their child and it does mean a lot, but it's still a big difference in my eyes. And someone once said to me, I know how you feel. At least you got your mortgage paid off. And I thought I'd rather be in debt and have a mortgage to pay and have my husband with me. It's just.
And the crazy part about it is, Sharon, is that I realized that it wasn't personal, right? It wasn't personal at all. It was just one of those things that, they're trying the best that they can with what they understand. And just as well as I do, if you surround yourself with people who've gone through similar things, the conversation is a lot different. The understanding is a lot different. They never say, "Oh, I know exactly what you're going through." They go, "Look, I have a better understanding of what you're going through because I went through something similar." And we do what we can to not take away from what that person is experiencing, but we understand what it's like to hold space with those individuals.
Yes.
Right. And because you are a therapist as well, right? And so now looking at it from the eyes of being a therapist, does it change the way that you see things now that you've had the lived experience and had to go through the process, right?
Yeah, very differently.
We forever go through the process, that, But tell me through the eyes or the thought pattern of a therapist with lived experience, because there is a difference.
There is a huge difference. When I was doing my training, we were taught that men grieve for a year and women are 2 years. And that's absolute. I won't say the word because I don't like swearing, but oh my God, I got so stuck in my grief for like 16 years.
Yeah.
So if you have therapy, yes, it could maybe take a shorter time, but you can't put a time limit on grief either.
Yeah.
And to say for a man it's a year and a woman is 2 years is terrible. And it's
Yes.
not a linear line. It's a very dark, bumpy road that you go through. It's like being on a very fast roller coaster or in a dark tunnel.
Yeah.
It's very, very, but it is so important to have therapy. Otherwise, like I did, you get stuck in your grief.
Yeah.
But to talk about it, just even like we had a conversation last week, and it probably helped you and me just chatting about our grief in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important, and to surround yourself with positive people rather than negative people.
Yeah. But and I think that, well, and again, I'm talking from my own experience, right? Because the negative part is all part of it. It's the yin and yang. It's how
Yes.
how everything balances itself out. And so, when I'm often walking with these men as they're navigating this world, I love the fact that they're going through the darkness. They're going through the negative parts and stuff like that because it's a part of their experience. Now, just what have we not experienced the darkness and the negative, we wouldn't be able to tell our stories in the way that we do, right? Because people want to know. People are out there right now going, yeah, but I'm in this place right here, and the only release that I have is doing drugs or going out and doing all of these different things. I love that, right? Because I'm like, hey, you're going to get through it. It may not seem like it right now, but I often don't say that neither. I often don't say that like you're going to get through it. I go, look, you're okay. You're doing what you need to do to grieve,
Yeah.
so you're okay. And when they hit that proverbial rock bottom, I go, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready, right? Because from there, now we can begin to unpack everything. We can begin to address these things and get you the necessary support that you need. I never say help, but the support that you need. And I want to surround you by people, individuals
Yeah.
that have a better understanding of walking this path, so you're not alone. Just as well as I do, grief is a lonely, lonely road. Um,
Very.
and when now being in the grief field, it still applies. And a lot of people don't even understand that. Like grief, even after going through the things that we've gone through, this road of grief is still a lonely one because not too many people understand. But I think it's the boundaries that we set with ourselves as we begin to go through the grieving process multiple times, right?
Yeah.
There's no time limit. There
No.
is, you know. I want to get share your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. Well, you said about alcohol, etc., and drugs. I was a comfort eater, so to speak. I don't like alcohol because I just don't like the taste. Luckily, because if I had, I would have probably drunk my way through my emotions. But I fed my emotions, and I just used to laugh and say I was a chocoholic. But every emotion I ever felt, be it good or bad, I fed with chocolate. And I didn't want to cook or anything, and it was like processed food, which is all full of chocolate.
Mhm.
And I will actually say 2020 was the worst year for most people. But for me, 2020 was probably my best year. If Simon hadn't have died, he would have been 60 in 2020.
Mhm.
And I wanted to write a tribute to him. And so I can show my book, but I'm now a very, very proud author. In 2020, I wrote a book called Widowed with Kids. And I started writing it as a tribute to him. But then got the light bulb moment that it will help anyone that's grieving.
Mhm.
And it was a bestseller on Amazon. I also in 2020 gave up sugar. And oh my God, Tony, it is the best I've ever felt. I actually, when we went in the pandemic, I actually said I would rather die than give up chocolate. Everyone was queuing for over 2 hours for toilet paper. I had toilet paper, but oh my God, I'd run out of chocolate. And I queued one day for over 2 hours for chocolate. And I gave it up, and it is the best I've ever felt. I now feel inner peace, inner joy, and inner happiness deep down in my core. I feel so free and empowered. It is the best feeling ever. And I will never knowingly put sugar in my body again.
And that's a huge thing, right? Because
Yeah.
what a lot of people don't know, and see, now you're speaking to the personal trainer in me, right? The bodybuilder. And I'm all about nutrition and putting the right things into your body and working
Yeah.
out and having good physical regimen, as well as a good mental, emotional regimen, and if you're spiritual, non-spiritual, figure out what you need to do to balance your body out, things like that. So I educated myself on foods and, what to eat and what not to eat, how foods affect you in certain different ways and all of these different things. So, there was a lot of things that I cut out. And one of them was pork. So I don't eat pork, I don't eat bacon, I don't eat any of that stuff because because of the way it always made me feel. It always made me feel like my blood pressure was going through. And then when you figure out how to process it with salt and sugars and things like that, you kind of put two and two together. Like, I don't like this. Even some red meats, right? Like steaks and things like that. I rarely eat a steak. What I will do is that I will wait for my friends to go hunting, and I will get meats from them like deer, elk, moose, ostrich, or whatever they went out hunting for, right? They're more than happy to be like, hey Tony, look what I got, man. I'm gonna bring these over to your house and everything else. And I love that because I'm like, okay. And how certain leafy greens affect your mindset as well, right? And all the things that come along with that. Again, I educate myself on that, and I would tell you, I still struggle sometimes with the sugar, right? Because yeah,
Well, you can laugh, but sugar causes heart disease, obesity, teeth decay, lowers your energy. And what's the biggest fear we all have when we go to the doctor or the hospital?
being told you have diabetes.
No, being told you've got cancer. And cancer cells, it does cause diabetes as well, but cancer cells feed from the sugar. And if that's not frightening enough, and I do believe it's like a legal drug because it's in absolutely everything you buy. If it's man-made, it contains sugar. If God made it, it's fine.
Yeah, I believe in that as well. I often go through and I go, you know what? I would rather during the spring or summer times, I like to grow my own vegetables. I like to, I have friends who have fruit trees and bushes and things like that, and they're constantly harvesting. I'm like, hey, mind if I come over and grab some of those blackberries or those raspberries and stuff off of your plant? Yeah, Tony, we got plenty of them. And so that's what I would prefer to do that, especially my fish, right? I will not buy fish out of a supermarket to save my life. No, won't do it. Because I love fishing too much.
Right.
I enjoy fishing too much, and I love the fact that it's a personal relationship that I can have with the foods that I eat, by going out, taking the time, and catching my own food. There's something more personal about that. Then I take it home, clean it, fillet it, fry it up, cook it, things like that. Because I know what's in there.
Yeah.
And I know what's not in there. I'm gonna say good morning to Rachel. Rachel, how you doing this morning, my friend? It's great for you to thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions or comments, you already know, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Rachel is the one. If you've seen my background, I can't believe it's not up right now, but I'm gonna see if I can't find my background. But she's also a great, amazing artist. She's did this background that you see right here, and also my logo and several other things. And so she's amazing. Yeah, very talented young lady.
Oh, hello, Rachel.
Yes.
Can't see you, but hello.
She's very talented. She's got a sense of humor too. So very lovely, very lovely. But now, now let's talk about some of your experiences, like as well. I guess my next question would be, can you answer how long have you been doing the work of grief with other people?
Gosh, for about 13 years, 14 years, I think. I started volunteering for a charity that was looking for bereavement counsellors, and they gave me just a small training. It was like a 6-week training. Started doing that, and that's how I got the love for this.
Okay.
I remember the very first client I went to, she'd been married for 50 years, and then her husband died. And my first thought was, well, how can I go and see a woman that's been married for 50 years? I was only married for 9-10 years. Oh my God, I knocked on her door and she had this massive smile on her face. And I thought, that's a bit strange. And anyway, she was in an abusive relationship, not physically, but mentally. And she'd never shared it with anyone. And she didn't want to die having not told anybody. So she shared it with me. And I just got such a good feeling for it. And I thought, I want to take this further. Went to college and studied more. And that's how I got onto being, I am a counsellor, a psychotherapeutic counsellor, hypnotherapist, life coach, naturopath, and very proud author. So I'm so proud of myself for what I've achieved. Because when I was at school, I got 2 U's and an E in English. And people always say to me when they've heard my story, oh, Sharen, you should write a book. And I just laugh. I can't write a book. Well, hey ho, I did. And I'm writing 2 more at the moment as well. So, yeah, it's what you say to yourself. So,
I know, right? Because it's like when we think about grief, right? We could think about the sadness that comes along with it, the emotional turmoil that it puts you in, the messiness. Like you said, it's not linear. It's not like it just goes from here to there. No, it goes all the way this way. I mean, I used to describe it this way to people. I was like, going through the grieving process after all the losses, it was like you get to a certain point and grief will come and push you off the cliff and watch you tumble down. Then you have to get up and it'll redirect you around this cliff, and then you run into the jagged edges, and then you get halfway up there and it'll push you down again. And so it's consistent. It's very consistent, right?
yeah.
There be times when you feel like you're doing just fine.
One day I could be doing just fine, and then it could be a special date. It could be Simon's birthday. It could be the day he died. It could, lots of different things. And it just doesn't pull you down to the lowest level, like when you first lose a loved one, but it can still bring that sadness on certain, but it doesn't last as long, thank God. But there's always days, there could be certain songs, certain places. And there's lots of secondary losses that come with loss as well. Not only did I lose my husband, I lost my children's father. I lost the person I used to go on holiday with, my best friend and my soulmate.
See, I find that, like the fact that you've said that is, I love that right there. It's sad. You have to lose that individual in order to get to where you are today, right? And I think that's the trade-off. That's the yin and the yang to it. Sometimes, and when I say this is a very, very, this used to be very hard for me to say, and I can't speak for anyone else, because I don't wish the things that I've had to go through on anyone, right? I wish longevity and love and life to everyone out there. Unfortunately, that's not the way it goes sometimes. This gift of grief came with a price. People don't really understand that. I've had to be destroyed from the inside out and had to piece myself back together, learn how to breathe over again, but also learn how to interpret this new world that I live in without the people that I care about, without the people that love me and that I love. But I had to do it in such an emotional turmoil and had to navigate that, you know, and also, you know, with people that didn't understand what I was going through. Everybody felt so comfortable with going, "Hey, I know you lost your son, but I'm going through something right now," and I don't shut my mouth, right? You know, because for me, it became natural, and I knew that it was something necessary, but I didn't understand how necessary it was. So I began to understand how to detach my emotions from people, places, and things to help others navigate it. And I think that's where my turning point was because it made sense to me. But in the same sense, it was like a give and take, right? Like I'm taking this away from them, giving them something back in return to help them navigate it. But it was the knowledge that I was able to begin to extract from it and then be able to, okay, this is no longer useful. Now I realized that the people that I was taking it from, they no longer had to carry that, but they was carrying a different perception from what they had to navigate. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know what your thoughts are.
It's funny, well, not funny, but although Simon isn't physically with me, I still feel he's with me in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a day that goes past where I don't think about him. And I will always love him unconditionally. And it is very sad that he's not still here. He hasn't seen my children grow up. And I always used to think, oh, he won't be here. Like, please God, my daughter one day will get married. He won't be here to walk her down the aisle.
Right.
But I'm going to be the one that will walk her down the aisle. You know, I've been a mum and dad to my kids for 22 years. And I don't think I've answered your question here, right? But
No, you're
I'm
not. There's no right or wrong answers to this.
just
This is
randomly talking.
your
But
story.
seriously, I've been a mum and dad to them for 22 years. And I want to walk her. I mean, listen, I want her to get married one day. She's not. It doesn't matter whether she will or she won't. But if she does, I'm going to be the one that walks her down the aisle. And yeah, I can now see the beauty in the grief.
Yeah.
Which may seem difficult for other people to hear, but he's always with me deep in my heart.
Yeah. And you know, I know I definitely understand the difficulty of it because oftentimes I talk about death, dying, and grief as it became a natural conversation for me. Like I'm not afraid to talk about it. Most people don't think about it. They don't want to imagine that someone that they care about may one day not be here, right? And I think the challenge is understanding that one day we're all going to we're all going to have to face this reality. The key to it is understanding that and then coming up with a plan to live your finite life, right? And that's the reason why I love doing death cafes because not only are we bringing this reality to the forefront, but we're going, hey, let's plan this out, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's see what this looks like. You know, if you had a choice, you know, and how your end of life look, what your funeral look like, would that be like, right? If you had to leave things to people, let's put all of this stuff down. Let's write all of this out. Now that we have this out the way, we're going to fold that up, put it into an envelope. You're going to put it somewhere where it's safe. You can always go back and change it. But now let's focus on the things that you want to experience in your life, right? Because that's out of the way. And it becomes I love the conversations that come behind it because you will find that a lot of people are afraid of dying. They're afraid of what's going to happen to them. Yeah, right. And it's a natural fear. And I get it.
Of course
right?
It is.
I get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was also thinking I'd like to become a death doula, which helps people that are dying so they're not on their own.
Yeah.
So like you would have a doula for giving birth, etc., but to help people that are dying, to be with them in their final days or final minutes. Because a lot of people are on their own when they die, and
someone to take over the responsibilities so they don't have to, right? You know, just because of the before, during, and after. care that comes along with that. And I have friends who are deaf doulas. One of the organizations that I'm partnering with is IDLM. Big shout outs to Anna and all the people, all the amazing people that they've helped get certified as deaf doulas. And I got passionate about that during COVID too, right? Because everybody thought I was this shiny new thing that came into the grief field because COVID happened and I just started doing what I was doing. And and I thought to myself, like, I want to go, now that we're on lockdown, I want to see what was going on. And what ended up happening is that, I was going down the street one day. I was driving around, although we were supposed to be in quarantine. I was like, I'm not doing that. And I drove past this hospice center on the left hand side of the street, and I turned over and I went over there because I saw people sitting outside of the windows. So I didn't know what was necessarily going on, although I had an idea. There was a lot of feelings going on, a lot of sadness. And so I stood there for a minute and I just watched people. I just watched them for a good little while. And there was this guy over there and he was like, can I help you? I was like, no, sir. I'm just taking this all in right now. He was like, would you mind coming over and sitting with me?
Oh.
I said, yeah, not a problem. So this is how my journey has always been. Can you come over and sit with me? And I went over there and I sat with him outside the window. And when I looked into the window, I realized what he was watching. He was watching his mother pass away and he couldn't be there. And I went, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the guy sat here and he was so emotional. And the only thing I can do was just go, you know what? I need to disconnect emotionally from this because he is here for what I carry. So, this is my role. And it became one of those things after I think one of the nurses saw me. And she came out because the guy went over after everything was said and done. He got up and then I walked into his car and I gave him my card. I said, if you ever need to talk, please reach out to me, because I know what you've just seen. It's a hard thing to have to deal with. He was like, I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to hold her hand. All of these different things, the ups and downs. And so I went back and then, actually I was going to leave and the nurse came out and was like, hey, come here. Can I talk with you? And I introduced myself and told her about the work that I was doing. She was like, would you mind, can we get some cards? And I tell you, throughout that process, and throughout the whole quarantine, I probably watched 116 families pass away.
Really?
Just like that. And they were coming in droves. Like, there was hospice, there was the funeral homes, there was the hospitals and things like that. So I didn't mind. I was all over the place. I was like, I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. And I think that's where I fell in love with the notion of being a servant to other people.
Yeah.
And also the understanding the importance of having conversations around it, right? Because I'm not afraid of talk. I'm not afraid of too many things in this world, and I think that's what helps me maneuver this beautiful world of grief and understanding the multitude of layers and situations that may come about, right? And so, you've watched your daughter go through it. You're watching your son, but your son did something amazing too, didn't he? Your son ended up going to university.
No, he didn't.
He ended up going to school. He ended up going to see.
My daughter did, but my son didn't. My son can't read and write or anything like that. So, no. He did go to a college for learning disabilities, but certainly not university.
That's what I was talking about. See, college, and I think that was a beautiful thing because he went to college for learning disabilities, and when COVID happened, he had to come back home. Correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, certainly not university though. I mean, but bless him, I wouldn't change him for the world. He's got a heart of gold. He only wants people to be happy and loved, and he's just the most wonderful young man. He's so caring. And in fact, my mother-in-law was 92, 93 last week. And so we went to her for tea in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't said to him, Oliver, get a birthday card for grandma, because if I had, then it would have just been okay. But bless him, when he went shopping, he did this off his own back. He bought a birthday card for her. And for him to do something like that is really, because although he's 28, he's developmentally like a 6-7-year-old. So it was just so beautiful. It really, he's got such a caring heart and a wonderful young man, considering what he's been through.
Yes, yeah. Considering what your family has gone through,
Yeah.
to see you sitting here right now, an established best-selling author on Amazon, and becoming a therapist and doing the work that you do, I find that to be very beautiful as well, right? Because this work is not for everyone.
No.
You know that.
I know Simon would be so proud of me now doing what I'm doing. And the fact that I've written a book, they say, what's it? Love never die, or you never die until you're forgotten. Something like that. I can't remember exactly. But he'll never be forgotten because his name's in a book, and neither will I because I'm the author.
Right,
so
right.
He will live on even when we're not here. Well, he's not here, but when I'm not here, my name will live on because I'm the author.
Right.
So,
and these videos, these podcasts will be here long after we're gone, right?
Yeah.
You get to come back and go, wow, what's Sharen, right? And they listen to your story and see this amazing aura, this energy that you have of just caring for other people, but having a deep and better understanding of how to help others navigate this world.
Well, now, I had zero confidence as well. So I would have never, ever have spoken on a video like this. I'd have spoken to you on a call, but not with my screen, not where you could see me.
Right.
And now I've done podcasts, I've done talks, and I love doing it because I know that I'm helping others. And you said earlier about Grief Cafe. Is that actually done in a cafe, or do you do that online like this?
You can do it either which way, right? So, there's multiple ways of doing it. In my office that I'm in, we have conference rooms, right? And so I invite people to come over for the Death Cafe, and we don't take donations. You don't pay to come; it's totally free. What we will do is provide drinks and food for people, because the best conversations that you will ever have with someone is over a plate of food, right? This is
as long as there's not sugar in it.
As long as there's not sugar in it. Well, I have to say I have bought donuts and everything, and people have been like, "Oh, we got the donuts, we got coffee," and we sit down, we have a great conversation, and so it's about connecting with others.
Yes.
Right, in the way of community. And then, what they often find, what happens is that all of these people that you wouldn't think that are going to come would be your neighbor. So you come in there and you're like, oh my God, that person lives right next to me, or this person lives down the street. That person lives right across the street from me. Oh my God, I work with this person. So they're the people that are sitting around right in front of you that's not saying anything. They have these fears, they have these concerns, and they're looking for a way to connect with other people that feel the same way. And so once they figure that part out, it's more of, wow, let's see, this is now a community. Let's talk. Let's open up the door. So I, with the help of another one of my colleagues, she gave me some papers and some questions to be able to ask, to be able to open up the doors, because in order to navigate every aspect of it, you have to have people that have been doing it for quite some time, right? And have a better understanding to help mentor you to do it, right? And so, I've had help. They give me information, I use it and I put it out there. And I will tell you, Sharen, where we'll turn out, I normally leave myself a couple of hours for people to talk, and I've had those couple of hours turn into 3 and 4 or 5 hours of just people just wanting to sit down and talk with one another, get to know one another, build friendships, and things like that. So it can be either virtual, it can be held in, as long as the atmosphere that you're creating is welcoming for that conversation to happen. You can do it anywhere that you want to, your home, wherever, right? But it all depends on you and what you're going for. So, yeah.
Well, if ever you do any virtual ones and you want any help or support, I'm always, obviously, I can't come to your cafe if it was a live one because we're the other side of the world from each other. But if you do them virtually, I would love to help you do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, my goal is within the next month or so, probably in February, I want to start doing a monthly Death Cafe virtually and as well as in person. I'm trying to knock down some of the stuff that I'm doing right now because I have so many logs in the fire. Trying to just knock them down to where I can take a breather and go, all right, now we're going to focus on this.
Yes.
Now, my next question would be, what are some of the challenges that you see with counselors nowadays, and how can we be better at doing the work that we do in grief and trauma?
I don't know if there are challenges. Well, no, there are challenges because you've got to get on with. I remember years ago when I did see two therapists and we didn't really get on. One of them was just she was person-centered, so it was for me to talk, and I just found that difficult. I needed somebody like to ask me questions and to share different things about them. Obviously, I know when you go and see a therapist, it isn't about the therapist's story. I don't want to listen to the therapist crying. You've got to unload your feelings, but you still need somebody where they've been through maybe something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told when I was learning about it, you never say more than just your first name. You never tell them your surname or anything about you. But when somebody is suffering from grief and loss, I personally believe it helps if you say, I also lost my husband, blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't go into much of my story, but just so they know that I've been through something similar.
Yes.
That's not how you're supposed to do it officially. But I know for me, if I was seeing a therapist and they said to me, yes, I also lost my husband, or, something similar, it would make it easier for me to talk and open up about my feelings.
Right. And I totally agree. And I know people have their rules and things like that. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy having conversations around grief and death and dying and all the things that come in between, because people want to know that they can trust you.
Yeah.
They first off, they want to know that you can relate to what they're going through, right?
Yes.
Because I want people to know that they're not by themselves. And that's the reason why I chose to become a grief coach. But also in that aspect, I chose to do it my way, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go work for someone.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm, oh my God, Sharon, one of the biggest things that really got me, and I've had this happen to me, was that I ran across a grief coach. She's a big name, but then I realized that she was a narcissist.
Really?
Yeah, she was a narcissist. She had lost her husband. And this was probably about last year sometime when I ran across her. I was supposed to have her on the show. And so, when she had scheduled with me, I had an event going on. And so she was like, "Oh, did you flake out on me?" I'll say, "First off, you don't talk to me that way. We're not going to do that, right? You scheduled at a time where I had an event. And if you don't, here's what you scheduled. You see that right there? You scheduled right there. Well, you could have came on. I was like, I was doing an event, and you're not important to me.
Mm.
You reached out to me. You saw that, and you thought to yourself, I'm gonna put it here, and he's going to make accommodations for me because I'm such and such. So I said, okay. When she realized I wasn't, she got upset with me. And her words to me were, I don't deal with small time podcasts. I have over 200,000 followers, and I could have did something with you, but you wasted my time, and in my life, time is money. I said, I'm glad that you said that. I really am, because you don't know how bad I've been waiting for to do this to someone just like you. I said, but see, I'm not going to bash you. I'm going to let other people put you in check. I said, you know what? unfortunately, I don't think this is the work that you should be doing because you are a narcissist and you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. You're doing it because you're making money and this, that, and another. And the damage that you do to people is individuals like me and
Mm.
someone else that I know that care about the individual. We have to go and repair the damage that you do. But now, with that being said, I'm gonna show you something. I said, and I know that you're following me. So I copy and pasted a conversation that we had and I put it out on social media. I said, tell me if anyone sees anything wrong with this. Now, granted, she has over 200,000 followers. What she didn't know is that the people that I had following me have more than her and have bigger names than her. So I said, we're just gonna see where it goes. She did. When she realized that she messed up, she blocked me.
She blocked you.
She blocked me. She didn't want to follow me no more. I said, now do you understand what I'm saying? You should not do this work. You know, it takes a certain individual to want to go out there. And for me, running across individuals like that with the narcissistic tendencies scares me.
Yeah. It's so important to be warm, honest, kind, genuine, and to build a relationship. The client has to trust you
Uh-huh.
and feel they're able to share their emotions and feelings with you.
Mm.
I am very real and authentic, and I speak I speak my truth as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I always say to a new client I've had, listen, if you don't like me, you're not happy with anything I say or do, please always tell me.
Yes. I'm
I
right
did
there
have a
with you.
beautiful client a few years ago who just bought my book, and she connected with me. It was on Facebook. And when you're not friends with someone on Facebook, you don't get the message.
Right.
And
Right.
if anyone messages me, like clients, I always respond within 24 hours. And of course, it was about 3 months when I just found this random message and I felt so terrible. And I messaged her back and said, I never got the message. I apologize. And her story was very much like mine. And we had a beautiful relationship. So you've got to get on with who you're seeing. And
Yeah.
I would always say, say somebody was on drugs, or if it was out of my remit that I couldn't do it, I would tell them and find somebody else that could.
I love you.
Oh, thank you.
I
Because
love you.
I've never listen, I don't drink because I don't like the taste. Thank God I've never got into drugs. Mine was eating and shopping. But if it was something that I if it was out of my remit, I would find somebody that could.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I'm right there with you because my biggest thing is that for me being a male in the grief field, I get a lot of women that come in and they're just curious about what I do. And what happens a lot of times is that they begin to trauma bond with me and not understanding that this is part of what I do, right?
yeah,
But it's also who I am as well. I can't change that, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So I have to live by certain rules and boundaries when it comes down to it. Like, I understand the conversation. I understand trauma bonding and things like that, and what I understand um, the emotional aspect that comes along with that. Especially when you're in a vulnerable state, most people will and oftentimes will take advantage of that. Where I look at that and go, no, we're going to have to cut this part off right here, right? We can't have anything beyond this conversation. Now I don't mind conversating with you, but I'm doing it with the intentions of setting you up with someone who's going to be better at supporting you than I can.
yeah,
And so I do understand that, and it goes back to what I said earlier. In my road of grief, I do realize that it's a very lonely one, and I have to be very careful how I step, how I speak, and the boundaries that I've set. Right, I have to be very firm on them. And no, this is what we can't do. Right, because for one, I realize what you're doing with me. So that's what keeps me grounded in a lot of ways. But just like yourself, I'm also a firm believer. Hey, if I may not be the first, I may not be the best fit for you. So say let me go reach out to one of my colleagues and get you someone who would be better suited for you than I can, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about. Well, I guess this leads me to my next question before we begin to wrap this up. How important is it for people to find their tribe? I love that statement right there. Where people go, find your tribe, right?
I suppose that is just life in general,
Mm-hmm.
to be with people that are your tribe. Yeah. So whether there could be people that like to exercise, like to run, like to go to the gym, like to whatever they like to do, so do the same thing with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do think that's important. If you've gone through loss, it could be to be with other people that have gone through loss, although that's quite negative. You want people to lift you up rather than.
Well, okay. I understand that, and yes, it can be quite negative. But can I add to that just a little bit?
Of course you can.
It can be quite negative, but it can be very comforting to be around people who have gone through similar things. And the reason being because in most of these support groups, you may find people that have gone through have made the journey be a little bit further down the line than you are, right? And so it's good to surround yourself with people. And again, these are just my thoughts and my opinions, and not I wouldn't push my thoughts and opinions on anyone out there. This is just a perception, but surrounding yourself with people who have walked the path a little bit longer than you can be very beneficial in how you learn, right? The
Yes.
guidance that they can give you, right? And the understanding, the empathy that can be spread across there. Because I'm also a firm believer in if you surround yourself with people who have gone through the process, there's a language that can be spoken that is covered in life and love over top of you.
Mm.
And those people will speak life and love over top of you. They will uplift you. They understand that, hey, in these darkest moments is when you need me the most.
Actually, it's funny because I remember when my daughter was 7 at school. So one of her friends who was in her school year, they were driving to a shopping centre and her husband just had a massive heart attack
Mm.
in the car. Thank God, they didn't have an accident, and we did become friendly, actually. I mean, the children were friendly at school, but we became closer because we'd both been through similar things. So actually saying that, yes, it really did help. And I'm trying to think, I think there was another lady as well. It was a few years later who also lost her husband.
Hmm.
And I think her son was in the year below my daughter. So yeah, it
It's a
does help.
transition.
Yes.
So, and it's understanding the multitude of levels that come along with that. and
Mm.
and I think that's what keeps me going because it's constantly changing, it's constantly giving, it's constantly just doing all kinds of things. I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing today, huh? Okay, and I've learned to navigate within because, like I said, I'm not your average person. I'm not the average male when it comes down to it. People often find me to be strange or oftentimes misunderstood because I genuinely love everything about grief. It is everything that I can ever want. It's um, everything that is who I am, right?
Yeah. How long did it
And
take you to get to that stage, though, from losing your son?
well, it took me a while
Don't mind me
because
asking.
well, no, you're perfectly fine. So it took after I lost my mother. My mother passed away 2 years after my son. My mother passed away on my grandmother's birthday, and so and it took after that. So 2 years, almost 9, 10 months. 2 years, 9, 10 months. But it was a combination of the loss of my father, my younger brother, my son, and my mother. So I got to a point to where I said I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to do this life anymore, Sharen. I really didn't. Okay. And so I became very, very devious in my own, not towards anyone else, but towards myself. And that came, after my mother passed away. I made some bad decisions and I moved out, and the person that I moved in with, come to find out she was a racist. So I lost everything. And I had to move back and had to be homeless for a long time. And nothing was working. Everything that I was trying, Sharon, fell apart on me. Everything. I lost my company. I lost everything. So I had to come back, swallow my pride, bounce around on people's couches, sleeping in my car, and still work as well, right? And I couldn't figure out why nothing was working out. I was like, I'm working, I'm not on drugs, but nothing is working out. I'm losing everything. And then I lost my good friend and his family. I watched him and his friend. I watched my good friend and his family pass away from COVID. All four of them passed away within 2 weeks. So I was living there. I had to move there. Went and stayed. So I'm running through a process right now. So I went to stay with another buddy, and I slept in his shed for almost 2 months. Got into a smaller place that was on his property, so I was really blessed about that. Met another young lady. That didn't work out. And so then I had to go live with a friend. And I was like, this is not working. And so finally I said, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. So that's what it took. That's what it took. It took me going through all of that and pretty much going, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of hurting. So about 2 years, 9 months. That's what it took after my son. And I tried to take my life. And in that moment of being so close, and I wanted it so bad. I wanted to do it so bad, and I had no fear of doing it. I sat back and that voice came. Some would say the creator, some would say God, some would say source, or whatever people want to relate to it is, I don't take anything away from anybody or what they believe or what they don't believe, I'm only speaking my truth. That voice came and it said, no, you don't get to do this. I begged and pleaded with it. Please let me do it. Let me just be done with it. Do you not see my life? And the voice said, yeah, I've seen it. I've been watching you since you was a child. What do you think I did? I know exactly what you're going through right now. But if you put this down, I have something else for you. And I said, if I take a chance on you, you're not going to hurt me, are you? The voice said, no, I'm not going to hurt you. I said, then show me what you need from me. Because if you look back on my life, I've been through it and I'm tired. And a voice said, oh, you thought your life was about you. And I said, well, yeah, did you not see had you not gone through what you've gone through, do you think you've been able to do the things that you've been doing right now? I go, oh, it's like, yeah, see, the experience was yours. The knowledge and the wisdom that you attained of it was yours. But your life had nothing to do with you. And it set me amongst this path. And grief became the thing that I understood the most. And it attached itself to me because it was already inside of me. And that's when I said, I'm committed to this. Show me what you need from me and guide me so I can be better, be better at serving people the way that it needs to be done. That's when this thing called grief showed up. And I realized that it was the one thing in my life that had never left me. And so I built a very intimate relationship with it. And now I eat, sleep, breathe, everything with it, right? I get up every day. I get to do what I love doing. I get to have conversations with amazing people. I get to serve But it also, it helps me understand the rules of my life that I've now been committed to the last over 5 years.
Yeah.
Such a way to where if I really wish I can explain the depth of knowledge that it has given me and continue to give me to help me be better at what I do on a day to day, sometimes moment to moment basis. So yeah, that's what happened.
I mean, we do expect to lose parents and grandparents before us, but to lose a child, to me, must be the worst loss anyone could go through.
Depending on the person, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the person, yeah, I can say it's probably the worst loss I've ever gone through. But now the blessing is I got something that some people don't get. I got the chance to see him turn 8. I got the chance to experience his life. I got the chance to be a part of that. I got the chance to learn from him, right? And so those memories are there. Some people don't even get that. So I appreciate the experience of being able to be his father because I will tell you, I wasn't much of a father to my daughters because of my life. My life didn't permit me to have relationships or intimate, loving relationships with my family or the people that was around me. The life that I lived was very chaotic and dangerous for those who was around me. Constantly, people were trying to kill me. Cops were trying to lock me up. And so this was my day to day life. It was a battle zone. And I know there's people out there that's experiencing what I'm talking about right now, but those who haven't, I don't expect them to understand because it's not for them. But I will say, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. It's given you a purpose in life
It's
now.
giving me purpose, direction.
Same with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that I am right now is because I said yes to this, but I had to go through it. And I think that's what makes us who we are, right? Because
Yeah.
the worst things that we've experienced in our life cracked us open and revealed the thing that we have been carrying with us for quite some time. And we used it in a way to where we've broken all the laws of physics. Look at you, right? Established author, right? You became a therapist, and look at the work that you're doing. This
Yeah.
thing, although it costs you, is giving you so much more in return,
Yeah.
right? So this is the ups and downs, the yin and the yang. That's the balance,
Yeah.
right?
Because I wouldn't have done anything if my
Right,
husband hadn't have died. I wouldn't be who I am today.
right. And I don't think most people saying that will look and go, well, I would. Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
get it. I wouldn't. We wouldn't wish this on no one either. Okay, we wouldn't wish this sort of pain on no one. I know,
No.
but unfortunately, the beautiful thing about it is that one day you are going to experience it,
Yeah.
and you're going to be looking for the people who have walked that path. You can be looking for the Sharons, and you're going to be looking for all those amazing people
If
because
you're a male, you can be looking for Tony. If you're female or male, you can be looking for me.
exactly, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, right? So now, as we begin to wrap this up, Sharon, I want to say thank you for having this amazing conversation with me, and
Thank you.
allowing us to go on this journey with you through your life of loss and becoming who you are today, the amazing person that you are. And everybody, her information is in the YouTube channel if you guys want to contact with her. But go check out her book as well. Can you lift up your book again?
Thank you. And there's one more thing you've forgotten.
No. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Okay. Okay.
Lift up your book again. Show people your book.
Oh,
Show,
sorry.
show people. Show people your book.
Oh, my book. And actually, one thing that I will share. My surname is Rosenbloom, and I do believe now that I am the rose in bloom.
But she got something else that she does too, and I want her to share this. So people go check out her book. Um, and I'm going to put this out there, Sharon. You have a poem in your book that you wrote, and it was the most beautiful poem that I heard.
Thank
Would you
you.
mind sharing that with the audience?
I will, and it's not in this book, but it will be in the next book.
Well, I'm still looking forward to it. I know I have one of them right.
Just in case anyone buys the book for thinking, oh, I want to read that poem. It's not in this one, but it is going to be in the next one I'm writing. And the next one is going to be even deeper. There's a lot of grief in this one that I've done, but there was also letters from my husband's friends to him. And so it will go even deeper with the grief. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to read you my poem,
I can't wait, you guys.
My Divine Essence. I was born with greatness in me. I had it all within me. I have changed my story and changed my life. I'm not existing anymore in the world. I am living. I'm not running on autopilot. I am dancing in the rain. I'm not comparing myself to others. I am comparing myself to me. Excuse me. I am unique. I am me. My seed has been planted in the correct soil, and with the sun's love, that seed has blossomed into the beautiful Rose in Bloom. I have found unconditional love for me, which is so magical. The nights are not lonely and the roads are not dark. I thought that love was only for the lucky ones, but I have found it deep within me. I love myself inside and out, and I love the people around me. I'm authentic and real. I'm open to learning and growth. I love who I've become. I feel so empowered and free. It is magical. It is joyful, and I'm at peace with me. I love my new life, and I stood still for so many years. That was all fear-based. I've moved forward in healthy ways. Life doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. I failed many times in my life, but I've learned so much from all my mistakes. With a lot of courage, internal strength, and change, I continue to grow. I'm not my pain anymore. I love my broken and cracked parts. They let the light in. I am perfect, whole, and complete. I have changed my story. I have changed my life, and I've changed my belief system and found my purpose in life. Life is a playground, and there will always be obstacles in the way. There will be sadness and tough times, and losing yourself is part of living. What got me here will never get me there. I am safe within me. I love who I've become. I am happy. I am joyful. I'm at peace with me. I am powerful. I am free. I love my life. I love who I've become. I am magical. I am me. I have others in my life with hearts who I love. And I'm so grateful to surround myself with positive, inspirational people. I'm empowered. I am free. I love my life. I love who I've become. I'm magical. I am me. I am free. Love is an inside job. And finally, I am home deep inside me. Thank you.
That.
And it's funny because I never, ever loved myself, always looked for that externally. But when you can love you, who you are, it's a different feeling. Again, this all came after giving up the sugar as well. So,
see, again, I can't wait. I can't wait till you get the next book out, because I'm in love with that poem. I really am. Thank you for sharing it with the audience. Thank you for sharing it with myself. This is my second time hearing it, you guys. And every time I'm just like, oh, I can't. Just give me the opportunity to narrate that. I would love to.
My second book.
I can do that. I can definitely do that, right? So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing everything and also staying in contact with you. And now, I know I told everybody that your information is down below, but I want to hear from you. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me?
Mm-hmm. Where can people find you?
My website is sharenrosenbloom.com. My Facebook account is Rose In Bloom Therapies. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn as Sharen Rose and Bloom, both on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm in London, the UK. At the moment, I'm in my lounge, but that's about it.
I love it. I love it. Now, one last question. So, I've been in the habit of asking people this question. I love the answers that I get. It just shows people how it links to how your heart in this. And so I'm going to pose this question to you.
Go on then.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
If I had a superpower, oh gosh, I suppose if I had a superpower, it would be that everybody didn't have to eat sugar anymore. And I can't say that people didn't grieve, because everyone grieves, everyone loses loved ones. So I would have to say, if I had a superpower, it would be not stopping, getting the world off of the sugar, because then you will get power in yourself.
Love that.
I don't know if that's a good answer or not.
No, it's your answer. Look,
I
there you
know,
go.
I
Right?
think what
This
to
is your
say.
answer, right? You know what I'm saying, guys? Give it up for her, right? Because that's your answer. And everybody's answer is different, and I love that, right? Because it just shows the world who you are, right?
Yeah.
And it helps opens up the door for people to have a better understanding of the path that you've taken, and
Yeah.
your heart for everything that you do. So you've had to go through. You have to go through some crazy stuff, but here you are. Everything about you is amazing, and I've had the honor and privilege to have a conversation with you today to share your story with the audience and everything, and for everyone tuning in. I see you guys out there. Thank you guys for tuning in on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and everything else. So you guys, if you're tuning in anywhere other than a YouTube channel, do me a favor, head on over there, hit that YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. And feel free to check out many other of the episodes that I have in there. Maybe it's not for you, and if it's not for you, maybe you know somebody who can benefit from the conversations that we have. And you guys help me do what I do. I appreciate you. And we got more coming. You guys already know I do a daily show, and we're going to keep bringing it. As long as people keep signing up, we're going to keep bringing it to you and keep helping you find support and resources out there from these amazing people and these amazing stories. Okay. And with that being said, guys, we're going to close out this episode of Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Please give my guest a huge thank you for coming on and being brave and vulnerable and sharing her journey with us. And with that being said, guys, we're going to close this one out. We love you. Thank you for your support, and we're going to see you guys in the next one. Okay. Peace.
Thank you, Tony.
You're so welcome.